There is a hand, perhaps it is your own, clenched into a fist. The knuckles are white, the muscles tremble with the strain of holding on. It is a fist designed to grasp, to secure, to possess. Yet, observe the profound irony of its effort. Imagine it filled with fine, dry sand. The tighter the fist squeezes, the faster the grains escape through the cracks between the fingers, a desperate pressure that only accelerates the loss, until all that remains is an empty, aching palm. Now, imagine that same hand trying to hold water. It scoops a perfect, clear pool from a flowing river, but the moment it closes to possess it, the water slips away, leaving it wet but empty. This is not merely an image. It is the unspoken biography of a soul spent in the act of striving. You recognize this feeling. It is the deep cellular exhaustion that has nothing to do with tired limbs and everything to do with a weary spirit. It is the exhaustion of the constant, unending chase, the race towards a horizon that recedes with every step taken, the pursuit of more, the climb towards better, the relentless reach for different, a new goal achieved, a new possession acquired, a new validation won from the world. You run, you strive, you grasp. You arrive at the destination, the prize finally in your hand, only to feel its profound hollowness. The satisfaction is a ghost, a fleeting vapor that vanishes upon inspection, leaving behind only the echo of the effort and the vast silent question, is this all there is? This is the quiet crisis of the modern heart. To be surrounded by noise, yet feel a deafening silence within. To be connected to 1,000 points of light, yet feel utterly, singularly alone. To accumulate accomplishments like stones in a pocket, only to feel their collective weight pulling you down. But what if the answer is not to run faster? What if the solution is not to find a better prize or a more worthy finish line? What if the entire premise of the race is flawed? Just for this moment, I invite you to stop, not to surrender, not to quit or retreat, but to simply and powerfully pause. Let us create a space here, in the quiet theater of your own awareness, a sanctuary walled off from the clamor of the world and the tyranny of your own ambition. This is not an escape. It is a turning inward. It is the preparation for a journey into the heart of a sacred paradox, a truth that whispers from the core of ancient wisdom, a secret hidden in plain sight. It is the principle that the only path to truly having it all is to want none of it, that the only way to find unshakable strength is to finally and completely let go. So take a breath, feel the tension in that fist. And now, just for a moment, let it open. Let us begin. Let us speak of the prison. It is the most secure, most intricate prison ever designed, for it was built by the inmate, for the inmate. It has no physical walls, no iron bars, no armed guards patrolling its perimeter. Its confines are invisible, its chains are weightless, and its warden is the most intimate and persuasive voice you know, your own. This is the prison of wanting. Its very architecture is composed of the thoughts that begin with, if only, and the sentences that promise freedom, as soon as. It is a fortress of conditionality, a place where peace is always held for ransom, and contentment is a visitor that is never allowed to stay. You live within its walls every time you believe that your happiness lies just on the other side of an acquisition, a promotion, or an approval. The bars of your cell are not made of steel, but of beliefs. The belief that you are incomplete, the belief that what you have is not enough, that who you are is not enough. The belief that the future holds the key to the lock of the present moment. This is not simple greed. To label it as such is to misunderstand its profound and tragic nature. Greed is a superficial craving. This is something far deeper. It is a hunger in the soul, a fundamental ache of insufficiency that the mind desperately tries to remedy with things external. It is a defense mechanism, Your ego, that fragile sense of self built from memories and ideas, feels a constant, low-grade terror of its own non-existence, its own emptiness. So it seeks to build a fortress around itself. It seeks to define itself by what it has, what it controls, and what others think of it. Each new desire is another stone in the wall of this fortress. If only I had that house, I would feel secure. As soon as I achieve that status, I will be worthy of respect. When I find the perfect partner, I will finally feel whole. Listen to those sentences. They are the creed of the prisoner. They are bargains made with a future that does not exist, paid for with the currency of a present that is ever fleeting. The wanting is not the problem symptom, it is the problem itself. It is the constant, self-inflicted wound of telling yourself that right here, right now, is not good enough. And within you, a silent war is waged. There is a part of you, a quiet, deep, and ancient part that knows the truth. It yearns for stillness. It craves the simple, unadorned peace of just being. It is the part of you that can watch a sunset and feel a sense of awe without needing to own the sun. It is the part that can hear a bird sing and feel joy without needing to cage the bird. This is your true nature, the silent witness. But there is another voice, the voice of the warden, which is the conditioned mind. It is loud, incessant, and convincing. It screams that stillness is stagnation, that contentment is a form of giving up. It points to the horizon and shouts, "Freedom is out there. The key to your happiness is just over that next hill." And so you are torn. You feel the profound desire for rest, and yet you feel the compulsive urge to strive. You long for the peace of the open palm, yet you live with the tension of the clenched fist. This inner conflict is the source of the deep exhaustion you feel. It is the friction of a soul pulling in two opposite directions at once. One part seeking to dissolve into the wholeness of the present moment, the other seeking to solidify itself through future attainments. This is the central, agonizing struggle of the unexamined life. The core message, the single ray of light that can penetrate the prison walls, is this: freedom is not achieved by getting what you want. Freedom is realized by wanting what you have. The entire logic of the prison is built on a catastrophic flaw. It assumes that happiness is an additive process, that if you just acquire one more thing, one more success, one more piece of validation, you will finally reach a critical mass of joy. But this is a lie. The very act of desiring something external inherently creates a state of lack within you. The moment you say, "I need that to be happy," you have simultaneously declared, "I am not happy now." You seek peace, but you sow the seeds of agitation with every new desire. You seek security, but you anchor your well-being to things that are, by their very nature, impermanent. You seek freedom, but you add another lock to your own cell door with every conditional, "I must have." The Great Awakening is not in finally getting everything you want. The Great Awakening is in the sudden, stunning realization that you already possess the only thing that can ever truly fulfill you, the present moment and the awareness with which you experience it. Happiness is not a destination you arrive at. It is the very ground you are standing on. If only you would stop looking at the horizon long enough to notice it beneath your feet. So how does one begin to dismantle such a formidable prison? You do not fight it. To fight desire is just another form of desire. The desire not to have desire. This is simply the prisoner rattling the bars of his own cell, creating more noise, more struggle. The path is not one of aggression, but of intelligence. It is a path of quiet observation. The first practical step is simply this: the practice of recognition. It requires no special posture, no sacred space, no block of time carved out of your day. It can be done right here, right now. The next time the feeling arises, the familiar pang of wanting, The mental movie of a better future. Do not suppress it. Do not judge it. Do not even follow it. Simply and gently name it. As the thought, "I wish I had a different job," appears, just say to yourself, silently, "Ah, this is a thought of wanting." As the feeling of envy towards another's success surfaces, just acknowledge, "Here is the feeling of lack." In this simple act of naming, of acknowledging, a miracle occurs. You create a space. A tiny wedge of light appears between you, the silent observer, and the thought or feeling that is being observed. In that space, the thought loses its power. It is no longer you. It is an event happening within you. You are no longer the prisoner, hopelessly entangled in the drama. You are the awareness that notices the prisoner, that sees the walls, that recognizes the bars for what they are. Nothing more than transient patterns of energy, clouds of thought passing through the vast sky of your consciousness. This is the first turn of the key. It is the beginning of remembering that the prison door has, in fact, been unlocked the entire time. If the prison of wanting is the structure of your confinement, then its atmosphere, the very air you breathe within its walls, is the echo chamber of the mind. Imagine a vast, cavernous space inside your own skull. It is a place of strange acoustics, where every whisper is amplified into a shout, every doubt is magnified into a decree, and every fear reverberates until it feels like an undeniable truth. This is the source of the inner static, the relentless background noise that hums beneath the surface of your days and screams into the silence of your nights. It is this incessant noise that makes the imprisonment so unbearable, that drives the desperate search for any distraction, any external goal that might promise, even for a moment, a fleeting sense of quiet. This chamber is not a place you visit, it is the place you inhabit. Its walls are the boundaries of your own consciousness, and the echoes are the ricocheting fragments of your own unexamined thoughts. Who are the architects of this noise? What voices collaborate to create this disquieting symphony? There are three primary echoes, three master tormentors that haunt this inner space. The first is the echo of the past, the relentless historian. This voice has a perfect, unforgiving memory for every mistake, every stumble, every moment of shame. It plays your failures on a continuous loop, not as lessons to be learned, but as evidence for a verdict already passed. You are flawed. You are not good enough. A careless word you spoke a decade ago can suddenly return, echoing with fresh shame. A past failure can roar back into your awareness as a prophecy of future incompetence. This historian ensures that you are never free from your own history, that you carry the weight of every yesterday into the heart of every today. It builds a foundation of regret and fear, making you hesitant to act, terrified of adding another failure to its vast, echoing library. The second is the echo of the future, the anxious prophet. This voice is a master of fearful fiction. It stares into the blank canvas of what is to come and paints masterpieces of catastrophe. It whispers of all the things that could go wrong, the business that might fail, the relationship that might end, the health that might falter, the respect that might be lost. It is the engine of what if? What if I can't handle it? What if they find me out? What if I am left alone? This prophet of doom keeps you in a state of perpetual low-grade anxiety. It forces you to live in a future that has not happened, and likely never will, robbing the present moment of its vitality and peace. You cannot fully inhabit the now, because you are too busy rehearsing for a disaster that exists only as an echo in the cave of your mind. The third, and perhaps the most insidious, is the echo of comparison, the merciless surveyor. This voice has a single, obsessive task: to measure you against everyone else and to always find you wanting. In the modern world, this echo has been given a powerful megaphone. It scrolls through the curated highlight reels of other lives, presenting them as reality, It points to their triumphs and holds them up against your struggles. It magnifies their apparent joy and contrasts it with your private doubts. It whispers, "Look how far they have come. Look how stagnant you are. Look at their happiness, their beauty, their success. Why are you not like that?" This surveyor is the great thief of joy. It ensures that even your own accomplishments feel hollow, because there is always someone else who appears to be doing better. It fuels envy, resentment, and a profound sense of personal inadequacy, turning the world into a vast competition that you can never win. Together, these three echoes create a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle that powers the prison of wanting. The relentless noise of the past, future, and comparison creates a deep, gnawing discomfort within you. It is a feeling of being fundamentally not okay. The mind, in its desperate attempt to escape this discomfort, latches onto desire as a painkiller. It generates a thought: if I could just get that promotion, the echo of failure would be silenced. If I could just afford that vacation, the echo of anxiety would fade. If I could just look like that person, the echo of comparison would stop. This is the great delusion. You pursue the object of your desire, believing it is the key to silence, and for a brief moment upon achieving it, the noise might subside. The novelty of the achievement creates a temporary distraction, but the chamber is still there. The acoustics are unchanged, and soon the echoes return, often louder than before, demanding a new, bigger, better distraction. This is the addiction cycle of the modern soul, a constant state of inner unease, medicated by a constant pursuit of outer things, leading only to a deeper, more profound state of unease. This creates the deepest conflict of all, your innate need for silence versus your conditioned fear of it. Why do you reach for your phone in a moment of stillness? Why do you turn on the television the moment you walk into an empty room? Because you are terrified of being left alone in the echo chamber. The mind has become so addicted to its own noise that silence feels like a void, an abyss. Without the familiar hum of anxiety and the distracting chatter of thought, who would you be? The habit of filling every available space with noise, internal or externalis, a desperate attempt to avoid confronting the chaos within. Yet your soul, your true nature, craves silence as a flower craves the sun. It knows that in stillness lies clarity, peace, and truth. The conflict is between your authentic self, which is silence, and your conditioned self, which is noise. The liberating truth, the message that dissolves the very walls of the cave, is this: you are not the echoes, you are not the noise, you are not the voices. You are the space in which the echoes occur. You are the chamber itself. Think of it. An echo can only exist if there is a vast, empty space for it to reverberate within. That space, that silent, unchanging awareness, is what you truly are. The noise is not you. It is a temporary weather pattern passing through the vast sky of your being. This realization does not instantly stop the echoes, but it fundamentally transforms your relationship to them. You are no longer a victim trapped within the storm. You are the sky that holds the storm. The noise can be loud, it can be violent, but it cannot harm the sky. It cannot touch the vastness of the space that allows it to be. The first step in realizing this is not to fight the noise, but to do the very thing you have been avoiding. You must listen to it. The practice is this simple. For 5 minutes each day, sit in absolute silence. Do not call it meditation. Do not strive for an empty mind. The goal is the opposite. The goal is to do nothing but listen. Give the echo chamber your full, undivided attention. Do not engage with the thoughts. Do not analyze them. Do not follow them down their rabbit holes. Simply sit, as if in a concert hall, and listen to the chaotic symphony of your own mind. You will hear the historian dredging up old regrets, You will hear the prophet whispering of future doom. You will hear the surveyor making its endless comparisons. Just listen, without judgment, without intervention. By practicing this radical act of non-resistant listening, a strange and wonderful thing begins to happen. You start to notice the gaps between the thoughts. You start to feel the silence that underpins the noise. You begin to experience yourself not as the echo, but as the vast, peaceful chamber itself. And you realize, with profound relief, that the silence you were so desperately seeking was here all along. After the confinement of the prison and the noise of the echo chamber comes the grueling nature of the journey itself. It is a journey across a vast desert of our own making, and we are all chasing the same thing, an illusion on the horizon. Picture it clearly. You see it shimmering in the distance, a perfect line where the earth meets the sky. It promises relief, arrival, a final destination where the struggle will cease. It is the image of your happiness, the place where all the broken pieces of your life will finally assemble into a perfect whole. And so you walk. You dedicate your life's energy to traversing the sand, your eyes fixed on that distant promise. Yet, a strange and maddening phenomenon occurs. With every step you take towards the horizon, it recedes by exactly the same measure. It is a race that cannot be won, a destination that is perpetually, tantalizingly out of reach. This is not just a poetic metaphor. This is the fundamental operating principle of the desiring mind. We are a species of horizon chasers, spending our lives in pursuit of a destination that, by its very nature, does not exist. To understand why this is, we must look at the very wiring of our being. Within you is a powerful chemical force, a neurological current that dictates so much of your behavior. It is often mistaken for the chemical of pleasure, but that is not its true function. It is the chemical of motivation, of anticipation. It is the neurotransmitter of more. Its job is not to provide you with a feeling of satisfaction upon arrival, but to create an insatiable urge to pursue. It is the force that drove our ancestors to hunt, to explore, to seek better lands. It ensured our survival by never allowing us to become complacent. When you anticipate a reward, a delicious meal, a long-awaited vacation, a desired success, it is this force that floods your system, creating a feeling of excitement, focus, and drive. It is a feeling of wanting, and it is intensely compelling. The crucial and tragic misunderstanding is this: the reward system is rewarded by the seeking, not by the finding. The pleasure is in the chase itself. This is why the days leading up to a holiday can feel more exhilarating than the holiday itself. It is why the fantasy of achieving a goal is often richer and more satisfying than the reality of its accomplishment. Your own biology is engineered to keep you on the treadmill, to keep you chasing the horizon, because it mistakes movement for progress and desire for purpose. This is not a personal failure. You are not weak for feeling this way. You are simply running an ancient survival software that is no longer suited to the environment of the modern soul. This leads directly to one of the most common and quietly devastating experiences of human life: the arrival fallacy. It is the belief that once you arrive at a certain destination, you will enter a new and permanent state of happiness. It is the great "then I will be happy" myth. The student believes it about graduation. The single person believes it about marriage. The entrepreneur believes it about selling their company. The spiritual seeker believes it about enlightenment. The conflict is born from the chasm between this powerful expectation and the stark reality of arrival. You strive for years, you sacrifice, you overcome obstacles, you finally reach the goal. You stand atop the mountain you swore to climb, and there is perhaps a brief moment of elation, a flash of pride, a fleeting sense of relief. But then it comes, a hollow feeling, a quiet, unnerving sense of "what now?" The horizon you were chasing has vanished because you are standing on it. And in its place, there is not the promised land of everlasting peace, but a vast, empty space. The mind, addicted to the chase, deprived of its object of pursuit, becomes agitated. It feels purposeless. And so, almost immediately, it begins to scan the new landscape, desperate to create another horizon, another goal, another illusion to chase. This is the arrival fallacy in action. It is the realization that the destination was never the point. The destination was just an excuse to keep running. The profound shift in consciousness, the escape from this desert of endless pursuit, comes from a radical reinterpretation of the horizon itself. We have been taught to see it as a finish line. We must learn to see it as a compass. The purpose of the horizon is not to be reached. Its purpose is to give you a direction. It orients you in the vastness of the landscape. It provides a why for your how. The point is not to conquer the destination, but to walk the path with presence, with dignity, with awareness. Life is not a frantic race to the skyline. Life is the quality of each footstep on the sand. It is the feeling of the sun on your skin, the texture of the ground beneath your feet, the rhythm of your own breathing as you walk. Once you understand this, everything changes. The horizon ceases to be a source of frustration and becomes a source of guidance. Your goal is no longer to get there, but to be fully here while walking in that direction. The joy is not deferred to a distant future arrival. It is discovered in the immediate, tangible reality of the journey itself. The process becomes the prize. The antidote to horizon chasing, then, is the practice of arriving. It is the conscious, deliberate act of bringing your mind home to your body, of landing fully in the present moment, over and over again. Most of us live in a state of constant departure. When we walk, our minds are already at the destination. When we eat, our minds are on the next task. When we listen, our minds are formulating a reply. Our bodies are here, but our consciousness is out there, lost at the skyline. The practice of arriving is the gentle, repeated correction of this habit. When you are walking, the practice is to feel the sensation of your feet making contact with the ground. Step, feel, step, feel. You have arrived. This is it. When you are drinking a cup of tea, the practice is to feel the warmth of the mug in your hands, to see the steam rising, to smell the aroma, to taste the liquid as it passes your lips. You have arrived. This is it. When you are in the shower, instead of planning your day and rehearsing future conversations, the practice is to simply feel the sensation of the warm water on your skin. These are not insignificant acts. They are revolutionary. Each moment you successfully arrive is a moment you have stepped off the treadmill of desire. You are retraining your nervous system to find satisfaction not in future fantasy, but in present reality. You are teaching your mind that the oasis is not out there. The oasis is right here. In this way, the horizon is transformed. It is no longer a cruel trick of the light, a mirage that mocks your thirst. It becomes a beautiful, benevolent guide. It calls you forward. It invites you to grow, to move, to become. But it simultaneously teaches you the supreme importance of the path itself. It reminds you that you cannot reach the end without taking the step, and that the entire reality of your life is contained only in that single present step. By ceasing the frantic chase, you do not become stagnant or lose your ambition. You infuse your ambition with a profound sense of peace. You learn to work with dedication, but without desperation. You learn to love the journey, not just the idea of the destination. You stop trying to drain the ocean of all its water, and instead learn to taste the richness of every single drop. You stop chasing the horizon, and you start living in the landscape. We have journeyed through the architecture of our own suffering. We have walked the cold corridors of the prison of wanting. We have felt the disorienting noise of the mind's echo chamber, and we have trudged across the endless desert, chasing the illusion of the horizon. It is a bleak landscape. The recognition of these patterns can feel overwhelming, like a diagnosis with no cure. You might ask, if I am trapped in this prison, deafened by this noise, and lost in this desert, where do I even begin? Where is the first step, the first tool, the first moment of solid ground? The answer is not something you must find, build, or acquire. The answer is something you have been doing, uninterrupted, since the moment of your birth. It is the first stillness. It is the anchor of the breath. For most of your life, your breath has been an unconscious river flowing through you. It happens on its own, a silent, autonomic servant that keeps the machinery of the body running. You have taken it for an untold number of times, yet you have been truly present for almost none of them. But this unconscious river is a perfect, unflinching mirror of your inner world. It is the most honest barometer of your emotional and mental state. When your mind is lost in the past, dwelling on regret or sadness, observe how the river flows. The breath becomes heavy. It culminates in long, involuntary sighs, as if the body is trying to expel the physical weight of memory. When your mind races into the future, consumed by anxiety and fear, the river changes again. It becomes shallow, rapid, held high in the chest, a series of quick, preparatory gasps for a danger that has not yet arrived. When you are angry, the breath is a forceful torrent, sharp and violent. When you are at peace, the river flows slow, deep and quiet, down into the belly. Your body is constantly sending you the most accurate reports about your inner weather through the pattern of your breath. But you have been too distracted by the storm itself to read the forecast. You have been ignoring the most intimate and reliable messenger you possess, the true magic of the breath. The secret of its power as a tool for transformation lies in its unique dual nature. It is the only system in the body that operates both completely automatically and completely voluntarily. It is the ultimate bridge between your conscious and your unconscious mind. It is the seam that stitches the physical body to the formless spirit. All day long, you can ignore it, and it will keep you alive. But at any given moment, you can choose to step in and consciously take the reins. You can decide to make it deeper, or slower, or faster, or to hold it. In that simple act of choosing, a profound shift in power occurs. You are no longer the passive subject of your own chaotic inner state. You become its gentle, regulating master. By taking conscious control of the rhythm of your breath, you are sending a direct, undeniable signal to the deepest, most primal parts of your brain and your nervous system. You are stepping in as the calm captain of a ship that was previously being tossed about on the waves of automatic, conditioned reactions. This is the first, most fundamental act of reclaiming your inner sovereignty. It is the declaration that you are no longer content to be merely a passenger in your own life. Herein lies a new conflict, but one that is clarifying and productive. It is the conflict between the wandering mind and the ever-present anchor. Your mind, as we have seen, is a restless entity. It loves to drift. It is addicted to the drama of the past and the speculation of the future. It is the ship and the storm all at once. The breath, however, knows only one time, one place. It is always and only now. The breath cannot take place yesterday. It cannot draw in the air of tomorrow. Its entire existence is confined to the absolute immediacy of the present moment. So when you decide to place your full attention on the simple, physical sensation of your breathing, you are casting an anchor from the stormy ship of the mind into the calm, solid seabed of the present moment. The mind will not like this. It will fight. It will pull and thrash against the anchor chain. The moment you focus on one inhalation, the mind will throw a to-do list at you. As you follow the exhalation, it will dredge up an old memory. It will generate itches, distractions, and sudden urgent needs. This struggle is not a sign of failure. This struggle is the practice. The goal is not to stop the mind from pulling. The goal is to become more interested in the feeling of the anchor than in the pulling of the ship. With each distraction, you simply notice, and then gently, without judgment, you return your attention to the breath, again and again and again. This reveals the core message. No matter how chaotic the world becomes, no matter how violent the inner storm, you possess an unfailing, portable, and utterly free refuge that you can access at any time. The breath is your constant. It is your true home to which you can always return. Its power is not in its ability to stop the storm of life. The storms will always come. The waves of emotion, fear, anger, grief will always rise. The winds of circumstance will always blow. The power of the anchor is not to calm the sea, but to hold you steady within the sea. It allows you to feel the full force of the wave without being capsized by it. It allows you to witness the rage of the storm from a place of unshakable stability. It creates a space between you and your reaction. In that space lies freedom. In that space lies peace. So how do we forge this anchor chain to make it strong and reliable? We use a simple, ancient, and profoundly effective technique. Think of it as the physical act of telling your nervous system, you are safe. It is often called box breathing, a perfect square of self-regulation. When you feel the familiar tide of stress or anxiety beginning to rise, find a place to be still, even for just a minute. First, exhale all the air from your lungs, gently emptying yourself. Then, inhale slowly and quietly through your nose for a steady count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, hold the breath at the top of the inhalation without strain for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, exhale slowly and completely, either through your nose or mouth, for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finally, at the bottom of the exhalation, hold the emptiness, again without strain, for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is one cycle. Repeat it just 5 times. That is all. This is not merely a relaxation exercise, it is a direct intervention. This rhythmic breathing stimulates the vagus nerve, which is the primary conduit of your parasympathetic nervous system, the body's own rest and digest command center. You are manually overriding the fight or flight panic response. You are telling the ancient lizard part of your brain that there is no tiger, that the danger is an illusion, that you are, in this moment, safe and in control. This anchor is the first tangible tool. It is the first step out of the desert of horizon chasing, because it brings you radically into the present landscape. It is the first shield against the noise of the echo chamber, because it gives your attention a quiet, physical reality to focus on. It is the first taste of freedom from the prison of wanting, because in the moment of a conscious breath, you want for nothing else. It is simple, it is profound, and it is always, always available to you. The great journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The great journey to inner freedom begins with a single breath. Having found the anchor of the breath, you have discovered a point of stillness in the storm. You have learned that for a few moments, you can hold the ship of your mind steady against the churning waves of thought. But this stillness is not an end in itself. It is a clearing. It is a vantage point. The crucial question becomes, what do you observe from this newfound stability? Now that the frantic struggle has momentarily ceased, what do you see? This is where the next fundamental skill of inner freedom is cultivated. The art of pure observation. It is the practice of holding up a mirror to your own experience, a mirror that does not judge, distort, or try to change the reflection, but simply shows what is as it is. We must learn to do this because of a deeply ingrained and destructive habit of the human mind. We do not simply have our feelings, we become them. We fuse our entire identity with the temporary weather patterns of our emotional world, and in this act of fusion, we sentence ourselves to suffer. Consider the profound, life-altering difference between two simple statements. The first is, I am sad. The second is, I am experiencing a feeling of sadness. The first statement, I am sad, is a declaration of identity. It is a total and complete fusion. Your vast, complex, and multifaceted being is collapsed into a single temporary emotional state. When you say, I am sad, there is no space. There is no freedom. The emotion is not just an experience you are having. It is you, and because it is you, it assumes absolute authority. It dictates your thoughts, which become sad thoughts. It dictates your perceptions, so the world appears as a sad place. It dictates your actions, which become the actions of a sad person. You are no longer the one having the feeling is having you. Now consider the second statement. I am experiencing a feeling of sadness. Notice the space, notice the separation. A subject has been created, the I, the silent, witnessing awareness, and an object has been created, a feeling of sadness. It is no longer your identity. It is a transient phenomenon that is passing through your awareness, like a cloud passing through the sky. In that small linguistic shift, you have moved from being the victim of the emotion to being the witness of it. And in the space created by that witnessing, choice is born. Freedom becomes possible. Why do we engage in this act of self-limiting fusion? It is a habit programmed into us by language and conditioning. The ego, that constructed sense of self, craves solidity. It wants a firm identity, a story to tell itself about who it is, and powerful emotions provide a very compelling, very solid feeling identity. So we define ourselves by them. We become an anxious person, an angry person, a depressive person. We take these fleeting energetic states and weave them into the very fabric of our personality. We build entire life narratives around them, pointing to past events as proof that this emotional identity is our true, unchangeable self. This is a subtle and insidious form of self-imprisonment. We take a temporary guest in the house of our being and foolishly hand it the deed to the entire property. We forget that we are the house, not the ever-changing occupants that wander through its rooms. This reveals a core inner conflict that plays out in every moment. The choice between being the actor lost in the play or the audience watching it. The actor is completely consumed by their role. They are on the stage, under the hot lights, and the drama is their entire reality. When the script calls for rage, they feel rage. When it calls for despair, they feel despair. Their reactions are automatic, governed by the script of their past conditioning and their emotional habits. They have forgotten that they are an actor playing a part. They believe they are the part. The audience member, however, has a different perspective. They can feel deep empathy for the characters. They can feel the tension, the joy, the sorrow of the drama unfolding. But they never forget that they are sitting in a theater. They are aware of the stage, the lights, the seats, the silent space of the auditorium around them. They know that the play has a beginning and an end. They are engaged, but they are not fused. The practice of self-observation is the conscious act of moving yourself from the stage into a seat in the audience. It is the choice to witness the drama of your own life with engagement and compassion, but without being completely swept away and consumed by it. This leads us to the core message, the foundational truth that self-observation reveals. You are the sky, not the clouds. This is perhaps the most powerful metaphor for understanding your true nature, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your sensations, the circumstances of your life. These are the clouds. They are in constant motion. They are always changing their form, their color, their density. Some days the sky is filled with light, white, fluffy clouds of joy and excitement. On other days, it is covered by a thick, grey blanket of sadness. Some moments, a dark, violent thunderhead of anger or fear rolls through. From the limited perspective on the ground, it may seem like the storm cloud is the entire reality, but it is not. You are not the cloud. You are the sky. You are the vast, open, boundless, and silent awareness in which all the clouds of experience appear and disappear. The sky is not harmed by the most violent storm. It is not stained by the darkest cloud. It does not cling to the beautiful, fluffy clouds or try to push away the ominous, dark ones. It simply allows them all to be, to arise, and to pass in their own time. This sky, this silent, spacious awareness, is your fundamental identity. It was here before your first thought, and it will be here after your last. Realizing this does not mean the clouds will stop coming. Life will always bring weather. But it means you no longer suffer from the mistaken identity of believing that you are the storm. How then do we practice this? How do we cultivate this identity as the sky instead of the clouds? We do so by becoming a scientist of our own inner world. The practical application is a form of journaling, but not one of analyzing your problems. It is a practice of pure description, like a botanist cataloging a new species of plant. Take a notebook. The next time you feel a strong emotion begin to arise, anxiety, frustration, jealousy, even a sudden wave of joyous, the anchor of your breath to find a moment of stability. Then, open the notebook, and instead of writing the story about the emotion, "I'm angry because so-and-so said this," simply describe the raw physical data of the emotion itself. Treat it as a fascinating object of neutral curiosity. Ask yourself questions as a scientist would. What are the pure physical sensations of this thing called anxiety? Is it a tightness in the throat, a buzzing sensation in the hands, a hollow feeling in the pit of the stomach? Where does it live in my body? What is the texture of this sadness? Is it heavy like a wet wool blanket, or is it sharp and piercing like a shard of glass? What color might this anger be? Is it a hot, burning red? What is its temperature? Does it have a sound? By engaging with your emotions in this way, you are performing a profound act of alchemy. You are shifting from being the subject of the feeling to being the objective observer of it. You strip the emotion of its narrative power, its story, which is the part that truly causes suffering. It is no longer my terrible, all-consuming anger. It is now a fascinating phenomenon of heat and pressure in the chest and shoulders. You become a naturalist of your own soul. In this way, the practices begin to weave together. The anchor of the breath provides the stability needed to hold the mirror of self-observation. This clear, non-judgmental mirror allows you to see the constant flow of thoughts and feelings for what they are, fleeting reflections, transient clouds. And through this repeated observation, you begin to experience your true self, not as the fleeting reflection in the mirror, but as the vast, clear, unbroken stillness of the mirror itself. This is the beginning of equanimity. It is the development of an unshakable peace that is not dependent on having only pleasant reflections. It is the quiet strength to meet both the storm clouds and the clear skies with the same calm, open, and accepting heart. Let us move now from the realm of the purely mental to the place where the mind and body meet, to the physical posture of the soul. I invite you, right now, wherever you are, to perform a simple action. Clench one of your hands into a fist. Clench it tightly. Feel the pressure in your palm, the strain in your fingers, the tension radiating up your forearm. See the knuckles turn white with effort. This is the posture of control. It is the physical embodiment of holding on, of grasping, of striving, of resisting what is. It is the fist that tries to stop time, to manage outcomes, to force the world into a shape it was never meant to have. It is a posture of immense effort, and it is utterly exhausting. Now, I invite you to do the opposite. Slowly, intentionally, let the fingers uncurl. Open your hand completely. Let the palm face upward, soft, receptive, and at rest. Feel the immediate release of tension. Feel the blood return to your fingertips. Feel the quiet readiness in that openness. This is the posture of surrender. It is the physical embodiment of allowing, of accepting, of receiving. These are the two fundamental gestures of existence, the two paths you can walk in any given moment. The entire drama of your inner life, all your anxiety and all your peace, can be found in the difference between the clenched fist and the open palm. The philosophy of the clenched fist governs most of our modern world. It is a worldview built on fear. It sees life as a chaotic and hostile force that must be tamed, managed, and wrestled into submission. The fist believes that security can only be found through absolute control. It tries to control its career path, its financial future, its body image, and, most futilely of all, the thoughts and feelings of other people. It operates under the delusion that, if it can just arrange all the external pieces of life perfectly, it will finally be safe. It creates 5-year plans, rigid expectations, and elaborate backup strategies, all in an attempt to eliminate the one thing that is absolutely inherent to life: uncertainty. But look at the result of this effort. The attempt to control everything outside of you leads to a complete loss of control inside of you. Your inner state becomes a constant battlefield of anxiety and tension. You cannot control the economy, yet you clench your fist in fear of financial loss. You cannot control the opinions of others, yet you clench your fist in a desperate plea for their approval. You cannot control the aging process, yet you clench your fist in resistance to every new wrinkle. This is a war waged against reality itself, and reality will always win. The fist, in its effort to prevent suffering, becomes the very source of its own pain. The strain is the suffering. The tension is the torment. This creates the ultimate inner conflict, a choice between two fundamentally different ways of being: the pursuit of security versus the cultivation of serenity. The clenched fist is obsessed with security. It believes safety is something to be built externally, like a fortress. It thinks, if I can just accumulate enough money, enough success, enough power, then I will be secure. Then nothing can hurt me. But this is a profound illusion. The fortress of external things has no roof. It is still open to the rains of sickness, loss, and the inevitable changes of time. The relentless effort to build and maintain this fortress creates a state of perpetual vigilance and anxiety. It is a life devoid of peace. On the other hand, the soul, your deepest essence, does not crave security. It craves serenity. Serenity is not dependent on external conditions. It is an inner state of peace that comes from radically accepting what is. It is a deep trust in the flow of life itself. The conflict is this: you cannot clench your fist and have an open palm at the same time. You cannot be in a state of resistance and a state of acceptance simultaneously. You cannot live a life of anxious striving for security and simultaneously experience deep, unconditional serenity. You must choose. Which posture will define your life? The tense grip of fear or the gentle release of trust? The wisdom of the open palm offers the way out. To the ego, the open palm looks like weakness, like defeat, like giving up. But this is a misunderstanding. The open palm is a posture of supreme strength, intelligence, and grace. Its strength does not lie in resistance, but in resilience. It does not try to stop the river. It learns to swim with the current. It does not try to command the wind. It builds a sail to harness its power. The open palm understands that true power is not the ability to impose your will on the world, but the ability to harmonize your will with the way the world is. It accepts uncertainty not as a threat, but as the very space in which possibility, creativity, and grace can emerge. It lets go of the exhausting need to control outcomes, because it has learned the deepest secret of control. The only thing you can ever truly control is your own response to the uncontrollable. By releasing your grip on the external, you gain an unshakable grip on the internal. You trade the illusion of worldly power for the reality of inner peace. This reveals the core message, the great paradox that the fist can never comprehend. Letting go is not an act of loss, it is the act of creating space. The clenched fist is closed. It is already full of its own tension, its own effort, its own fear. It cannot receive anything. A hand that is desperately clutching a few grains of sand cannot receive a diamond. A hand that is tightly shut cannot receive the hand of another in friendship. It is only the open palm that can truly receive. We hold on to old jobs, old relationships, old beliefs, old possessions, terrified that if we let them go, we will be left with nothing. But the truth is the opposite. Our desperate clinging is what prevents anything new from entering our lives. You must let go of the withered leaf for the new bud to have space to grow. You must empty the stale water from your cup so that it can be filled with fresh, clean water. Letting go is a declaration of faith. It is the trust that by releasing what is no longer serving you, you are creating the fertile emptiness from which your next becoming can arise. How do we begin to practice this profound shift in a world that screams at us to hold on tighter? We start not with the great terrifying release, but with a small, manageable one. We practice with the physical world to train the spiritual one. The practical application is a ritual of release, the act of decluttering. Choose one small, contained area of your life. A single drawer in your desk, one shelf of your closet, the trunk of your car. Do not attempt to tackle the whole house. Start small. Take every single item out of that space. Hold each one in your hands. And for each item, do not just ask, "Do I need this?" Ask the deeper questions. What is the energy of this object? Is it part of the person I am now? Or is it an anchor to a person I no longer am? Am I holding on to this out of genuine affection or out of a vague fear of lack? Does this object represent the open palm or the clenched fist? Create 3 piles, one for things that represent your present and future self, one for things that can be given away or donated to serve someone else, and one for things that are simply to be discarded. As you place each object onto the pile of release, do it with intention. Feel it as a physical rehearsal for letting go of an old grudge, an old fear, an old limitation. When the space is cleared and organized, sit with it for a moment. Notice the feeling. It is not just a physical tidiness. It is a mental clarity. It is an emotional lightness. You have created a small vacuum, and you can feel that all the energy of the universe is now available to flow into it. This simple, physical act teaches the mind the feeling of release. It demonstrates on a small scale the truth that letting go creates not a void, but a possibility. And so the choice returns to you, in this moment and the next. Will you walk through life with your fists clenched, white-knuckled and weary, trying to possess a world that can never be owned? Or will you walk with an open palm, relaxed and ready, feeling the breeze, receiving the warmth of the sun, and trusting that what is meant for you will come, and what is not, you will have the grace to let pass? The path to wholeness is not through grasping more tightly, but through learning, finally, how to open your hand. After exploring the wisdom of the open palm, a powerful and understandable objection may arise in the mind. A quiet voice of caution, or perhaps cynicism, may whisper, "This letting go, this surrender. This sounds like a recipe for failure. It sounds like giving up. It sounds like apathy. This is a crucial and intelligent point of resistance. In a world that glorifies relentless ambition and the victorious clenched fist, the path of the open palm can easily be mistaken for a declaration of defeat, a passive retreat from the challenges of life. The mind fears that if it lets go of its desperate grip on outcomes, it will become a passionless drifter, a person who no longer cares, who no longer strives, who no longer achieves. Therefore, we must pause here to draw one of the most important distinctions on the entire spiritual path, the sharp, definitive, and liberating line between the dead, grey landscape of apathy and the vibrant, engaged, and powerful state of detachment. They may appear similar from a distance, but they are, in reality, worlds apart. One is a prison cell of numbness, the other is the key to absolute freedom. Let us first dissect the anatomy of apathy. Apathy is a state of retreat. It is a shutdown of the heart, a defense mechanism born from overwhelming fear or repeated disappointment. It is the soul going numb to protect itself from further pain. The apathetic mind, having been burned by the fire of hope too many times, decides it is safer not to feel at all. Its mantra is, "It doesn't matter anyway. Why should I bother trying? It will only lead to failure and pain." Apathy solves the terrifying conflict between the desire to succeed and the fear of failure by simply assassinating both. It eradicates desire, and in doing so, it eradicates the possibility of disappointment. But the price of this safety is life itself. Apathy is a state of low energy, of cynicism, of profound disconnection from oneself and from the world. It is the clenched fist that has become so exhausted from its own tension that it has simply gone limp, falling to the side, having lost the will even to try. It is not a conscious opening, it is a collapse. It is the bitter resignation of the prisoner who has stopped rattling the bars and now simply lies on the cold floor, staring at the ceiling, waiting for nothing. Now, let us turn to the anatomy of detachment. Detachment is not a retreat from life. It is a deeper and more intelligent engagement with it. It is not a state of numbness. It is a state of profound clarity, sensitivity, and presence. Detachment does not shut down the heart. It simply redirects the heart's attachment. It is the conscious, intentional act of unhooking your sense of well-being from the unpredictable world of outcomes and rehooking it to the one thing you can always control, the quality of your own effort in the present moment. The detached mind does not say, "It doesn't matter." It says, "My effort matters profoundly. The integrity of my action is of supreme importance, but the final result, the fruit of my action, is subject to 1,000 variables beyond my control, and therefore I will not chain my peace of mind to it." This is not a state of low energy. It is a state of calm, focused, and sustainable energy. It is the state of the master surgeon who cares with every fiber of her being about performing the operation flawlessly. Every cut, every stitch executed with perfect presence, but who cannot allow herself to be crippled by anxiety over the ultimate outcome, for that depends on the patient's body, on unforeseen complications, on life itself. Detachment is the open palm, held steady, engaged, and ready, not the limp hand of defeat. The confusion between these two states arises from a fundamental error in our thinking. We have fused our sense of self with our results. We live under a silent, brutal tyranny that declares, "If my project succeeds, then I am a success. If my project fails, then I am a failure." This equation makes every single endeavor at work, in relationships, in personal growth, a high-stakes referendum on our fundamental worth as a human being. The pressure is immense. The fear of failure becomes a terrifying existential threat. Faced with this unbearable pressure, the psyche develops coping mechanisms. Apathy is the most common. The apathetic response is to simply refuse to engage in any meaningful endeavor. If I don't try, the logic goes, I cannot be judged as a failure. It is a preemptive surrender. Detachment offers a more courageous and enlightened path. Detachment dismantles the faulty equation itself. It says, I will pour my heart and soul into this project, but my inherent worth is not on the line. My worth is unconditional. The quality of my action is my domain. The universe of consequences is its domain. I will honor my part with excellence, and I will allow the universe to honor its part, in its own way and in its own time. Detachment does not eliminate the possibility of failure, it eliminates the sting of it. It dissolves the ego's life or death gamble and replaces it with a calm, dignified and powerful participation in the game of life. This leads to the core message, the secret to a life of joyful and productive action. You must fall in love with the process, not the prize. You must find your reward in the work itself, not in the applause that may or may not follow. Love the feeling of the pen moving across the page, not just the fantasy of a bestseller. Love the intricate challenge of solving the code, not just the successful launch of the app. Love the daily discipline of practice, the feeling of your muscles working, not just the idea of crossing the finish line. When your reward is found in the very act of doing, you become invincible. You have already received your payment in the currency of presence and engagement. The outcome then becomes a secondary bonus, a pleasant surprise, rather than the sole source of your validation. This is how you can pour your entire being into your work without being emotionally destroyed if the world does not respond as you had hoped. You work with passion, with dedication, with fire, but you do so from a place of inner wholeness, not from a place of need. How do we translate this profound philosophy into a concrete, daily practice? We must consciously separate the process from the outcome. Choose one meaningful goal you are currently pursuing. Take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the right-hand side, write down the desired outcome. Be specific. To get the promotion to senior manager. To sell my artwork in a gallery. To run a marathon in under 4 hours. Now look at that outcome and acknowledge, with honesty and humility, that it is not entirely within your control. Your boss's mood, the gallery owner's taste, the weather on race day, these are external factors. Now, turn to the left-hand side of the page. This is your domain. Here, you will list the daily or weekly actions, the processes that are 100% within your control. For the promotion, it might be speak up with one well-researched idea in every team meeting. Mentor a junior colleague for 30 minutes each week. Complete my reports one day ahead of the deadline. For marathon, it would be complete today's scheduled training run with full focus. Do my stretching routine for 15 minutes. Eat a nutritious meal. The practice is this. Fold the paper so that the right side the outcomes hidden from view. Your only concern, your entire definition of a successful day, is to execute the actions on the left side with integrity and presence. You have detached from the prize and attached your full being to the process. This is the noble path of the craftsman, the artist, the true professional. It is not apathy, it is the highest form of caring. It is caring so much about your own inner peace and the quality of your work that you refuse to contaminate it with the needy, anxious energy of attachment. You unchain yourself from the unpredictable whims of fortune and anchor yourself to the bedrock of your own character and discipline. This is not about expecting less from life. It is about participating more fully in it, with less fear, less resistance, and an infinitely greater capacity for joy, resilience, and quiet strength. In this journey inward, as we speak of letting go, of the open palm, of detachment, a chilling question may arise from the depths of the heart. If I let go of my attachments, if I release my grip, will I lose my fire? Will I become cold, passionless, and inert? If I am no longer driven by the hungry ghosts of wanting and fear, what will drive me at all? This is a vital and necessary inquiry, for it touches upon the very life force that animates our existence. The path we are exploring does not lead to a desolate landscape of cold ash. It leads to a more intelligent and sustainable relationship with our own inner fire. The goal is not to extinguish the flame, but to learn to master it. We must learn to transform the destructive, out-of-control wildfire that consumes us into the steady, life-giving warmth of a well-tended hearth. Let us first understand the nature of this inner fire. It is the raw, primal energy of life itself. In different forms, we call it by different names: ambition, passion, creativity, anger, desire, love, drive. It is, in its essence, a neutral and powerful force. It is the energy that compels us to create art, to build businesses, to seek justice, to form deep connections, to get out of bed and meet the challenges of a new day. To be without this fire is to be spiritually and emotionally dead. The great misunderstanding of many spiritual paths is the belief that this fire is the enemy, that it must be stamped out and suppressed in the name of peace. But a peace that is bought at the price of your own vitality is the peace of the graveyard. The problem has never been the existence of the fire itself. The problem has always been our relationship to it. The question is not whether you burn, but how you burn. Do you burn like a wildfire, or do you burn like a hearth? Consider the wildfire of the untended mind, in a consciousness that is filled with the dry tinder of insecurity, the dead leaves of past resentments, and the brittle branches of comparison and fear. A single spark of frustration or a gust of desire can ignite an uncontrollable conflagration. This is the state of being consumed by your own energy. It manifests in several ways. It is the fire of burnout, where ambition, untethered from wisdom, rages without limits. You work obsessively, driven by a frantic, anxious energy, fueled by the fear of being seen as inadequate. You consume all your resources, your physical health, your relationships, your peace of mind, until you inevitably collapse into a heap of exhausted ash. It is the fire of destructive anger, where a perceived slight or injustice causes your inner energy to leap outward, scorching everything in its path, burning bridges, and leaving a trail of relational devastation. It is the fire of consuming anxiety, where the flames turn inward, feeding on a diet of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios, creating a constant internal state of alarm that chars your capacity for joy and trust. This untended fire feels powerful, it feels intense, but it is the chaotic and indiscriminate power of destruction. It creates nothing of lasting value. It only consumes. The inner conflict, then, is not between having passion and having peace. It is about how you choose to fuel your fire. The untended wildfire mind uses its own neuroticism as its primary fuel source. It feeds on fear, on insecurity, on envy, on the desperate need for validation. The more inadequate it feels, the more frantically and erratically it burns. This is a dirty, smoky, and ultimately unsustainable way to live, like trying to power a great engine by burning garbage. The alternative, the path of the fire tender, is to consciously choose your fuel. It is to see your life force not as a chaotic problem to be managed, but as precious firewood to be used with wisdom, intention, and care. The conflict is between being consumed by your passion and consciously using your passion for a chosen purpose. The wildfire is a slave to the wind. The hearth fire directs its energy to a specific task: to provide warmth, to cook a meal, to create a center for community. The choice is between being the fuel or becoming the tender of the flame. Herein lies the wisdom of the hearth. Imagine a well-tended fire in the center of a home on a cold night. It possesses qualities that the wildfire can never know. First, it is contained. It has clear boundaries, a structure of stone and brick that allows it to burn brightly without burning down the house. This is passion with discipline. It is ambition guided by ethics. Second, it is consistent. It provides a steady, reliable source of warmth and light, not a terrifying, explosive flash followed by darkness. This is sustainable drive, not a frantic sprint towards burnout. Third, it is creative and purposeful. Its heat is not wasted on random destruction. It is channeled to boil water, to cook food, to provide light for reading and writing, to serve as the warm heart of a gathering. This is anger channeled into a passion for justice. It is desire channeled into the creation of beauty. It is ambition channeled into service. The hearth fire is nurturing. It is life-giving, not life-taking. This is the model for a mastered inner life. It is not about burning less. It is about burning with more focus, more consciousness, and more love. This reveals your true role. Your job is not to be the fire, nor is it to be the forest that is terrified of the fire. Your job is to be the fire tender. The fire tender has an intimate relationship with the fire. They are not afraid of it. They respect its power. They understand what it needs. A good fire tender knows that sometimes the fire needs more wood. It needs to be fed with action, engagement, and new challenges. They also know that sometimes the fire needs the embers to be banked and covered, allowing it to smolder quietly and conserve its energy for later. This is the wisdom of rest, of contemplation, of strategic retreat. The fire tender knows when to clear away the old ash, the old resentments, the past failure, so that the new wood can catch fire. To see yourself as the tender rather than the fire itself is to make a fundamental shift in identity. You are no longer a helpless victim of your moods and passions. You are the calm, wise steward of your own sacred life force. How do we practice this stewardship in a practical way? We learn the art of energy transmutation. The first step is to recognize the feeling of the untended fire when it begins to build within you. It feels like restlessness, a nervous agitation, a free-floating irritability. It is raw, chaotic energy looking for something to consume. The common, unconscious response is to feed it with more mental tinder. We pick up our phones and scroll through social media, feeding it the fuel of comparison. We ruminate on a problem, feeding it the fuel of worry. We pick a fight with a loved one, giving the fire an external target. This only causes the wildfire to spread. The wise response, the practice of the fire tender, is to give the energy a new form. Instead of feeding the fire with more thought, give it a safe and productive pathway through the body. The moment you feel that restless, anxious energy, recognize it and consciously channel it. Stand up. Go for a 10-minute walk, but walk with power and purpose. Feeling the energy move from your agitated mind down into your legs. Do a set of push-ups or squats, feeling the fire transform into physical strength. Put on music and clean a room with vigorous, focused energy. This is not a distraction. It is a transmutation. You are taking the chaotic, destructive potential of the wildfire and channeling it through the focused, creative hearth of the physical body. This is the true meaning of a passionate life. It is not about being cold or disengaged. It is about becoming a master of your own warmth, a steward of your own inner flame. You move from being the forest, living in constant fear of the spark, to becoming the fire tender, who knows that the fire, when respected and contained, is the very source of light, warmth, and life. You learn how to burn brightly, with purpose and with peace, able to illuminate your own path and, in doing so, provide a little more warmth for a world that is so often cold. We have learned to tend the inner fire, transforming it from a destructive wildfire into a nurturing hearth. But even the warmest and brightest fire provides little comfort if our attention is not present to receive its gifts. A fire in an empty room warms nothing, and there are two great thieves, two master phantoms that constantly conspire to pull our awareness out of the present moment, leaving the hearth of the now cold and unattended. These are the twin ghosts that haunt the human mind, the ghost of yesterday and the phantom of tomorrow. They come to us in different forms, but their function is the same: to rob you of the only moment you will ever truly have, which is this one. One of them shackles you to what is gone, forcing you to wear the past like a heavy, suffocating cloak. The other blinds you to what is here, surrounding you in a thick, impenetrable fog of what is yet to come. To find peace, we must learn to meet both of these phantoms with courage and clarity and see them for what they are: powerful, yet ultimately unreal illusions. Let us first speak of the past and the immense weight of the cloak it drapes upon our shoulders. The past does not exist. This is a simple, literal truth. It is gone. It has vanished into absolute non-existence. All that remains of it is a curated collection of memories, stored as energetic and chemical patterns in the brain and body. Yet the mind does not treat them as memories. It treats them as living realities. From this library of memories, the ego, the storyteller, weaves its grand narrative, the story of me. And like any storyteller, it is highly selective. It tends to obsessively revisit scenes of regret, shame, failure, and grievance. You are no longer a vast, evolving consciousness. You become the person who failed in that business, the one who was hurt in that relationship, the one who made that terrible mistake. These memories are then embroidered, thread by painful thread, into the fabric of a heavy cloak. And you wear this cloak everywhere. It is the cloak of regret, which is simply anger and sorrow turned inward at yourself. You wear it every time you replay a past scene, torturing yourself with what you should have said or could have done. This is a form of self-flagellation, a futile argument with a history that cannot be changed. The cloak is also woven with the dark threads of grievance, which is anger turned outward. You carry the memory of how you were wronged, how you were betrayed, keeping the wound fresh by constantly picking at the scab. This grievance feels righteous. It feels justified. But it is a poison you drink, hoping the other person will suffer. This cloak, heavy with the ghosts of old sorrows and slights, slows your every step. It drains your energy. It forces you to walk through the present with your head bowed down, your eyes fixed on the dusty ground of what is over. Now, let us turn to the other great thief, the future. Just like the past, the future does not exist. It is a pure projection of the mind, a fantasy, yet we treat our projections as if they were imminent certainties. If the past is a heavy cloak that weighs us down, the future is a thick, blinding fog that surrounds us. We stumble through the present moment, unable to see the clear path directly in front of us, because our vision is obscured by the fog of what if. This is the realm of anxiety. Anxiety is the experience of paying interest on a debt you may never owe. It is the act of suffering in advance for tragedies that have not occurred and, in all likelihood, never will. The mind believes that the act of worrying is a productive form of planning. This is a lie. Planning is a constructive present moment activity. It is assessing a situation and taking a clear, rational step now to create a favorable condition later. Worrying is not planning. Worrying is the act of mentally rehearsing a disaster. It is using the creative power of your imagination, which could be used to create beauty and solutions, and using it instead to construct vivid, detailed horror stories in which you are the lead victim. Living in this fog is exhausting. You are constantly braced for an impact that never comes. Every unknown is perceived as a threat. Every possibility is a potential monster lurking just out of sight. You cannot appreciate the warmth of the sun on your face today because you are terrified of the storm that might arrive tomorrow. The fog of the future robs the present of its substance, its color, and its joy. replacing it with a grey, featureless dread. The inner conflict then is between the relentless storyteller and the silent witness. The mind is a master weaver of tales. It tells epic tragedies about the unchangeable past and terrifying horror stories about the unknowable future. The conflict is whether you will be a captive audience member, completely lost and believing every word of these tales, or whether you will step back and become the calm, impartial witness who recognizes them as stories. The witness understands that a thought about the past is not the past itself. A feeling of anxiety about the future is not the future itself. These are mental and emotional events happening now. The witness knows the difference between the story and reality. The story is the thought, "I am going to fail." Reality is the feeling of your breath moving in and out of your body, the sensation of your feet on the floor, the sound of the world around you. The choice, in every moment, is where you will place your attention and your belief. Will you invest it in the unchangeable ghost of yesterday? Will you project it into the non-existent phantom of tomorrow? Or will you bring it home to the only time and place that has ever been real? Right here, right now. This leads us to the core message, the liberating truth that dissolves both ghosts. The past is not a residence, it is a reference library. It is not a prison, it is a classroom. Its sole purpose is to provide you with lessons. You are meant to walk into the library of your past, find the book that contains the wisdom you need, learn from it, and then walk out, leaving the book on the shelf where it belongs. You are not meant to build a house in the library and live there for the rest of your days. The past is a lesson, not a life sentence. Similarly, the future is not a promise to be guaranteed, nor a catastrophe to be feared. It is a field of infinite possibility. Your relationship with it should be one of open-handed intention, not white-knuckled control or fearful avoidance. You plant the seeds of your intention in the present moment through your actions, and then you allow the field to yield what it will, with trust and acceptance. To make peace with the past, which holds the greater weight for most, we must do more than simply understand this. We must perform an act of release. The practical application is a ritual of letting go. Set aside a time when you will not be disturbed. Choose a specific burden from your past that you are ready to release, a mistake for which you cannot forgive yourself, or a grievance against another that you are tired of carrying. Now, write a letter. Write it to your younger self who made that mistake, or to the person who hurt you. Do not hold back. Pour all the pain, the anger, the shame, the sorrow onto the page. Give the ghost its voice. But then, you must pivot. This is the crucial step. After expressing the pain, you must consciously invoke compassion. Write to your younger self with the understanding you have now. Acknowledge that they did the best they could with the level of awareness and the tools they possessed at that time. Offer them the forgiveness you have been withholding. If you are writing to another, acknowledge the pain they caused, but then make the conscious choice to release the debt, not for them, but for you, so that you no longer have to be the jailer of your own heart. Finally, identify the single most important lesson this painful experience taught you. Write it down. This is the wisdom you will carry forward. The rest is just story. Now, read the letter aloud one last time. Then, in a safe manner, set it on fire and watch it burn to ash. Or tear it into 1,000 tiny pieces and let the wind scatter it. As you watch it dissolve, feel the weight of that story dissolving with it. You are performing a powerful ceremony for your psyche, declaring that this chapter is over. As the smoke from that letter rises, you may feel the heavy cloak of yesterday begin to lighten and slip from your shoulders. As you bring your attention back to the anchor of your breath, you may feel the thick fog of tomorrow begin to thin and recede. And perhaps for the first time in a long time, you can stand upright, unburdened and clear-eyed, able to feel the solid ground beneath your feet and the warmth of the fire in your own heart. finally at home, in the one and only place you can ever truly live, the eternal now. We have journeyed far into the inner landscape. We have explored the self-made prison of our wanting. We have stood in the deafening echo chamber of the mind. We have chased the ever-receding horizon across a desert of our own making, and we have felt the chilling presence of the ghosts of yesterday and tomorrow. All of these states of suffering, every single one of them, is sustained by a single foundational condition: your absence. For any of them to have power over you, you must not be fully here. You must be lost in a memory or adrift in a fantasy. And so, we arrive at the very heart of the matter, the source from which all true power and freedom flows. We arrive at the single plot of solid ground in the entire universe of your experience. We arrive at the sovereign territory of the present moment. This is not just another concept. This is the center. This is the throne room of your own life, a place from which you have been a long time self-imposed exile. Let us examine, with radical honesty, the nature of true power. The world teaches that power is external control over resources, over people, over outcomes. The clenched fist believes this, but this is a fragile and illusory power. True power, the only power that can never be taken from you, is the power to choose your response, the power to act with conscious intention, the power to experience your life directly, without the distorting filter of past and future. Now, let us ask a simple question. Where in time does this power actually exist? Can you act in the past? Can you go back and unsay the harsh word or unmake the poor decision? Number, you can only remember it, regret it, and suffer from it now. The past is a sealed chamber. All power to act there has vanished forever. Can you act in the future? Can you live tomorrow's joys or solve tomorrow's problems today? Number, you can only imagine the future, fantasize about it, or feel anxiety about it. The act of planning for the future happens now. The future itself remains a perpetual phantom, always a day away. There is no power there. There is only one place, one infinitesimal point in the vast expanse of time, where your power is absolute and concentrated. It is now. The power to take a breath, to take a step, to speak a word, to think a new thought, to make a choice, all of it. 100% of your agency exists only in this immediate, unfolding moment. This is not a mystical platitude. It is the most practical, verifiable truth of your existence. To be absent from the now is to be, by definition, completely and utterly powerless. Why then do we so willingly give this power away? If the present moment is our sovereign territory, the one and only place where we are the undisputed ruler, why do we spend most of our lives as wandering refugees in the unreal realms of memory and imagination? This is the great abdication. It is the act of abandoning our own throne. We forsake the kingdom of reality for the ghostlands of the past and the foglands of the future. We do this because the now, in its raw, unedited form, can be uncomfortable. The present moment can be boring. It can be painful. It can be mundane. The stories of the past and future, by contrast, are filled with drama. The past offers the tragic grandeur of regret and the satisfying fire of grievance. The future offers the thrilling suspense of anxiety and the sweet narcotic of escapist daydreams. And so, we make a tragic bargain. We trade the tangible, embodied power of the present for the entertaining, distracting narrative of the story. We choose the mental movie over the actual experience of our own lives. We abdicate our throne because we are addicted to the drama of our own self-imposed exile. This creates the fundamental, moment-to-moment conflict of the inner life, the battle between the pull of the story and the anchor of reality. The storyteller mind is relentless. It is constantly whispering in your ear, pulling at your sleeve. Remember when they slighted you, it murmurs. What if you lose your job? It hisses. Think about how happy you'll be when you finally get that thing. It dangles the juicy bait of a compelling narrative, and our attention, like a hungry fish, bites. On the other side of this conflict is the quiet, steady, and undramatic anchor of direct, sensory reality. It is the simple, physical sensation of your breath entering and leaving your body. It is the feeling of the chair supporting your weight. It is the sight of the light in the room, the sound of a distant car. This reality rarely screams for your attention. Its call is a quiet, persistent whisper. The conflict is between the seductive shout of the unreal story and the gentle whisper of what is actually real. Every time you consciously withdraw your attention from the mental movie and place it on the simple, tangible sensations of the now, you are winning that battle. You are making the choice to return to your throne. This reveals the ultimate core message, the principle upon which all self-mastery is built. Your power is your attention. Your life is not the sum of years you have lived, nor the collection of events that have happened to you. Your life, your actual experienced life, is nothing more and nothing less than the sum of all the things you have paid attention to. That is all. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Where your energy flows, your life is built. If you consistently invest your attention in the grievances of the past, your life will be a fortress of bitterness. If you consistently invest your attention in the anxieties of the future, your life will be a swirling fog of dread. The events of the world are the raw materials, but your attention is the master builder. It decides which materials are used and what kind of structure is built. You cannot always control the events, but you can, with diligent practice, learn to control your attention. This is the true meaning of sovereignty. It is the ability to consciously direct the spotlight of your awareness. To reclaim your life, you must first reclaim your attention from the thieves of past and future and bring it home to its rightful place in the present moment. So how do we practice this homecoming? Trying to be present all the time is a recipe for frustration and failure. The habit of distraction is too strong. Instead, we begin by creating small, intentional islands of presence throughout our day. We forge anchors of presence. The practice is this: choose one or two common objects that you interact with every single day, usually on autopilot. It could be the doorknob to your bedroom. It could be your favorite coffee cup. It could be the steering wheel of your car. Now, you will bestow upon this mundane object a sacred function. It is now your bell of mindfulness. Every time you touch it, it is a signal to pause and to arrive. The moment your hand touches that doorknob, before you turn it, stop for just 5 seconds. Feel the cool metal against your skin. Notice the weight of it. Notice the light in the hallway. Take one conscious breath. That is all. You have just returned to your kingdom. Every time you lift your coffee cup, before you sip, pause. Feel its warmth. Smell its aroma. See the steam rising. 5 seconds. You have just consciously inhabited your own life. These small, repeated acts are profoundly powerful. They are like a form of inner strength training. They gradually weaken the neural pathways of distraction and strengthen the muscle of presence. They are small, repeated acts of reclaiming your sovereign territory. So we see the map of our own experience. Behind us lies the phantom country of the past, populated only by ghosts. Ahead of us lies the shifting, uncertain fog of the future. And between them, the only solid ground in the entire universe is the vibrant, living, and powerful kingdom of the present moment. This kingdom is your birthright. Your focused attention is the crown. The practice of returning, again and again, to the simple reality of the here and now is the quiet, dignified act of placing that crown back upon your own head. It is the act of ruling your own inner world with peace, with power, and with presence. We have returned to the present moment, to the sovereign ground of the now. We have found the throne room of our own life. Yet, even as we take our seat, we become aware of a presence in the room with us. There is a treacherous advisor, a hungry courtier who stands beside the throne, constantly whispering in our ear. It is the voice that tells us this present moment, as it is still not quite right, that we are not quite right. It is the voice that measures, compares, judges, and demands. This insatiable courtier, this restless phantom that haunts the kingdom of the now, is the ego. It is the architect of our feeling of not enough, the source of a spiritual hunger that no amount of worldly success can ever possibly satiate. To find true peace on our throne, we must turn, look this advisor in the eye, and understand its nature completely. For it is a ghost, and our belief in it is the only thing that gives it substance. So what is this ego? It is crucial to understand that it is not your true self. The ego is a mental construct, a provisional identity, a story of me that you began assembling in early childhood. It is a collage made of disparate parts. Your name, your nationality, your profession, your past accomplishments, your future ambitions, your possessions, your political beliefs, your physical appearance, and, most importantly, your ideas about what other people think of you. It is a mask, crafted from the materials of memory and society, that you have worn for so long you have forgotten you are wearing it. You have mistaken the mask for your own face. The primary function of this constructed self is simple: to survive and to enhance itself. It operates on two fundamental principles: separation and superiority. To exist, it must first feel separate from everything else. It draws a sharp line in the sand and declares, "This is me, and that is not me." Then, to feel secure, it must try to prove that the me is special, is superior. It is the voice of comparison we first met in the echo chamber. Its greatest fear is ordinariness. Its deepest terror is the idea of dissolving back into the whole, of being anonymous, of being nobody special. For the ego, to be nobody is to cease to exist. To feed its desperate need for existence and superiority, the ego plays a series of relentless and exhausting games. These are the hunger games of the inner life. It plays the game of more, believing that if it acquires more wealth, more status, or more possessions, its identity will become more solid, more real. It equates having more with being more. It plays the game of being right, thriving in arguments and debates, because every victory reinforces its sense of intellectual superiority. This is why we cling so fiercely to our opinions, defending them as if we were defending our very lives. From the ego's perspective, we are. It plays the game of grievance, loving to feel wronged, because the identity of the victim is a powerful one, conferring a sense of moral superiority over the perpetrator. And it adores the game of drama, both positive and negative. It craves intense emotional states because they make it feel intensely alive. The quiet, gentle peace of the present moment feels threatening to the ego. It is too close to the stillness of non-existence it fears so much. And here is the secret of its eternal hunger. The entity it is trying to feed is not actually real. It is trying to solidify a ghost. It is trying to fill a bottomless vessel. This is why no amount of praise is ever enough. No amount of success is ever enough. No amount of wealth is ever enough. The moment one desire is fulfilled, the hunger returns, demanding the next meal. The satisfaction is always temporary because the hunger itself is based on a foundational illusion. This reveals a profound inner conflict: the ego's desperate drive for specialness versus the soul's quiet yearning for wholeness. The ego believes that happiness lies in standing out, in being better than, in being recognized as unique. It is a path of constant comparison and competition. It forces you to climb ladders, to defeat rivals, to constantly prove your worth in a world of other competing egos. The suffering and anxiety inherent in this path are immense. Your true nature, however, the silent, witnessing sky has no need to be special. It knows that it is not separate from anything. It is intrinsically part of the whole, just as a wave is not separate from the ocean. It finds its peace not in being better than other waves, but in the experience of its own oceanic nature. The conflict is between the mask's need to be admired and the face's desire to simply be. You cannot simultaneously pursue the path of being special and the path of being whole. They lead in opposite directions. One leads to a life of anxious striving, the other leads to a life of peaceful being. The message that liberates us from this conflict, the truth that starves the hungry ghost, is this: your value is not a product of your ego's achievements. Your worth is not earned. It is not something you build through success or lose through failure. It is not contingent on your resume, your reputation, or your reflection in the mirror. Your value is inherent. It is intrinsic to your existence. You have value simply because you are. You are a unique expression of life itself, a manifestation of the universe observing itself. A star does not need to justify its right to shine. A flower does not need to earn its beauty. Their value is in their very being. Your value is of this same unconditional nature. It was complete the moment you were born, and it will be complete the moment you die. It cannot be increased or diminished by the games of the ego. Realizing this, truly feeling this in your bones, is to pull the plug on the ego's entire hunger game. If your worth is already absolute and inherent, then you no longer need to prove it. You are free. To make this realization more than just a beautiful idea, we must practice it. We must actively disengage from the ego's reward system. The practical application is the discipline of the anonymous gift. The ego's favorite food is recognition, credit, and praise. This practice is designed to starve it of this food. The task is simple. Perform one small, genuine act of kindness, and then tell absolutely no one about it. Do not speak of it, do not write about it, do not post about it. Let it be a perfect secret between you and the universe. Pay for the coffee for the person in the car behind you, and then drive away before they can thank you. Leave a book you love on a park bench with a note for a stranger to find. When you see a piece of trash on the street, pick it up and put it in a bin without any sense of self-congratulation. The act itself is secondary. The crucial part of the practice is what comes next. The observation of your own inner state. Watch the ego. It will squirm. It will feel cheated. It may throw a silent tantrum whispering, "What was the point of doing that if I don't get credit? No one even knows I'm a good person." Witness this inner protest with a sense of detached, compassionate amusement. You are observing the hungry ghost being denied its meal. And in that moment, you are proving to yourself that you can act from a place of pure, intrinsic goodness from your true nature without needing anything for the constructed me. You are learning to feed your soul, not your ego. The ego is a demanding ghost that lives within you, constantly rattling its begging bowl. For years, you have mistaken its hunger for your own and have exhausted yourself trying to fill it. But you are not the ghost. You are the one who holds the food. You can choose to feed its illusions with your belief, your fear, and your desperate need for validation. Or you can choose to let it be. By turning your attention away from its demands and towards quiet acts of selfless service, the ghost begins to fade. The mask becomes transparent. The voice grows quiet. And in its place, your true face, calm, silent, whole, and unconditionally worthy, is finally allowed to emerge. Not because it is special, but because it is, and that has always been, and will always be, more than enough. Having witnessed the bottomless hunger of the ego and its desperate need to be somebody, a profound question naturally arises. If I am not my achievements, if my worth is not in my role or reputation, then what is my purpose? For many, the search for purpose is the ego's last and most noble-sounding game. We abandon the crude pursuit of wealth or fame, and instead chase a more refined prize, a grand sense of meaning. We believe our purpose is a specific destination to become a great artist, a visionary CEO, a perfect parent, a spiritual teacher. We attach our entire sense of self to this role. But this is just the ego wearing a more elegant mask. We have simply traded a worldly hunger for a spiritual one. To find a purpose that is truly unshakable, we must look away from the world of doing and becoming and turn our gaze toward the silent, profound wisdom of the mountain. Consider the nature of an external purpose, a purpose defined by a role or an outcome. It is, by its very nature, incredibly fragile. If your purpose in life is to be a successful lawyer, what happens when you retire? What happens if you are laid off? What happens if you wake up one day and realize the profession no longer brings you joy? Does your life then become meaningless? If your purpose is to be a devoted mother, what happens when your children grow up and leave home as they are meant to do? Who are you then? A purpose that is tied to any external, impermanent condition, a job, a relationship, a certain level of health or physical abilities, a purpose built on shifting sands. It keeps you in a state of constant, low-grade anxiety, terrified of losing the very thing that you believe gives your life meaning. This is the ego's most cunning trap. It convinces you to build the entire mansion of your self-worth on a foundation that could be washed away at any moment by the unpredictable tides of life. It gives you a noble-sounding identity, but the price is perpetual insecurity. Now, consider the wisdom of the mountain. A mountain does not have a job title. It does not worry about its career prospects. It does not compare its height to the mountain on the next continent. It does not strive to be a more successful mountain. A mountain's purpose is not something it does, but something it is. It simply and magnificently embodies the quality of mountainness. It is stable, it is still, it is patient, it is majestically present. It sits in silent communion with the earth beneath it and the sky above it. A blizzard may rage upon its peaks, a scorching sun may beat down upon its slopes, thunderstorms may crash around it, but the mountain remains. The weather, like the circumstances of our lives, is temporary and ever-changing. The mountain's core being, its essential nature, is unmoved. It teaches us that a true, unshakable purpose is not found in a role we play, but in a quality of being that we choose to embody. It is an inner state of integrity that we can express through any action, in any circumstance. It is discovering our own mountainness. This reveals a fundamental inner conflict in the search for meaning. It is the conflict between what and how. The externally focused egoic mind is obsessed with the what. What should I be? What is my grand purpose? What title should I have? What great thing must I accomplish to prove my life has meaning? It is a search for a noun. The wisdom of the mountain, however, is concerned only with the how. How will I live this present moment? How will I meet this challenge with courage or with fear? How will I show up in this conversation with presence or with distraction? How will I perform this mundane task with resentment or with grace? The shift from a what-based purpose to a how-based purpose is the shift from seeking external validation to cultivating internal character. It is the realization that meaning is not a destination to be reached, but a quality of presence to be inhabited. This leads us to the liberating core message. Do not ask, what is the meaning of life? That question presupposes that meaning is some hidden object, a secret treasure that you must find somewhere out there. This quest sends you on an endless, frustrating search outside of yourself. A more powerful and creative question is, how can I live in a way that gives my life meaning? This flips the entire dynamic. Meaning is no longer something you find, it is something you create. It is something you build, moment by moment, through the quality of your attention and the integrity of your choices. Your purpose is not a static noun to be discovered, it is a dynamic verb to be lived. Your purpose is to embody compassion. Your purpose is to express creativity. Your purpose is to cultivate stillness. Your purpose is to be courageous. When you define your purpose in this way, as a verb, as a quality of being, it can never be taken from you. You can embody compassion while washing the dishes. You can express creativity in how you solve a problem at work. You can be courageous in having a difficult conversation. Your purpose is no longer a distant peak to be climbed. It is the very ground on which you walk. To discover this inner mountain, this value-based purpose, we can use a simple but profound technique of self-inquiry, like a geologist drilling for a core sample. It is the practice of the 5 whys. Start with any goal or desire that feels important to you. For example, I want to get a promotion at work. Now, we begin the dig. First, ask why. Why is getting that promotion important to you? The answer might be, because I want the respect of my colleagues and more financial security. Second, ask why. Why is having respect and financial security important to you? The answer might be, because I want to feel a sense of safety and validation in my life. Third, ask why. Why is feeling safe and validated important to you? The answer could be, because when I feel safe and validated, I can relax and be more creative and generous. Fourth, ask why. Why is being creative and generous important to you? The answer might be, because expressing creativity and generosity makes me feel connected to something beautiful and good. Fifth, ask why. Why is feeling connected to something beautiful and good important to you? The answer may be a feeling more than a thought, because that is what gives me a sense of deep peace and fulfillment. Look at this journey. We started with an external, fragile goal promotion, and by drilling down through 5 layers of motivation, we arrived at the bedrock of a deep, internal, and unshakable purpose, to live in a way that cultivates peace and fulfillment through beauty, connection, and generosity. This is your mountain. This purpose can never be taken from you. You can live this purpose if you get the promotion, or if you don't. You can live it at work, at home, in community, in solitude. You have moved from a fragile what to an indestructible how. When you cease your frantic search for a purpose to acquire, and instead begin to embody the purpose that already lies within you, you become like the mountain. The weather of your life will continue to change. Promotions will come and go, relationships will evolve, health will fluctuate, storms will rage, but your core, your mountain of being, your commitment to living out your deepest values remains. You find an unshakable purpose, not by finding the perfect role, but by deciding, in this moment and the next, the quality of being you will bring to the world. You stop searching for the mountain, and you become it. In our journey together, we have explored many gentle arts, the art of the open palm, the quiet wisdom of the mountain, the deep peace of the present moment. And so, the very mention of the word discipline may land with a jarring thud. It is a word that can feel cold, hard, and unforgiving. It evokes images of rigidity, of punishment, of a clenched fist forcing itself into conformity. It seems to stand in direct opposition to the principles of letting go and acceptance. This is a natural and valid resistance, born from a deep misunderstanding of what true discipline really is. We have come to see it as a cage, a form of self-imprisonment. The purpose of our time together now is to dismantle that cage and reveal the truth. That authentic discipline is not a prison. It is the master key that unlocks every door. It is not the violent hammer that shatters the stone of our resistance, but the gentle, patient, and relentless drop of water that, over time, carves canyons. To begin, we must redefine discipline, stripping it of its harsh, militaristic connotations and seeing it for what it truly is: a profound and consistent act of self-love. We are conditioned to view discipline as a form of self-punishment, a tax we must pay for our inherent laziness. The truer perspective is that discipline is the ultimate act of self-respect. It is the part of you that cares enough about your future self to make a difficult but wise choice in the present moment. It is the act of honoring the promises you make to yourself. Think of the deep and corrosive effect of a life without it. When you repeatedly tell yourself, "Tomorrow I will start exercising," or "Tomorrow I will begin to meditate," or "Tomorrow I will eat better," and tomorrow comes and you do not, you are doing more than just procrastinating. You are teaching yourself, on a subconscious level, that your word is worthless. You are demonstrating to yourself that you cannot be trusted. This silent internal erosion of self-trust is the root of so much low self-esteem. Conversely, every single time you honor a commitment you have made to yourself, no matter how small, you are casting a vote for your own capability. You are sending a powerful message to the deepest parts of your being. I am worthy of my own promises. I can rely on myself. This is how genuine self-esteem is forged, not from external praise, but from the quiet, internal integrity of being a person who does what they say they will do. We must also draw a clear line between discipline and its fickle, fair-weather cousin, motivation. Motivation is a feeling, an emotion. It is a wonderful, energetic wave that is glorious to ride, but it is utterly unreliable. It comes and goes with your moods, your energy levels, and the weather. The amateur, the dabbler, waits for the feeling of motivation to strike before they act. They treat their creative or personal growth as a matter of chance. The professional, the master, the person who builds a life of substance, understands that motivation is a gift, but discipline is the system. Discipline is the commitment to show up even when the feeling is not there. It is the quiet dignity of laying one brick perfectly, even on a day you do not feel like building a wall. Discipline is what carries you through the long, flat, uninspired stretches of any meaningful journey. Motivation is the spark. Discipline is the slow, burning, well-tended log that keeps the fire of your purpose alive through the long night. This brings us to the inner conflict that defines this practice. It is a constant dialogue between two distinct voices within you. The first is the voice of comfort. This voice is a master persuader, a creature of immediate gratification. Its only goal is to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort right now. It is the voice that says, "You had a hard day, you deserve to skip your workout." It says, "Just one more hour of mindless scrolling, you can start that project tomorrow." It is the siren song of the easy path, the path of least resistance. The second voice is the voice of commitment. This is a quieter, deeper, and wiser voice. It is the voice of your future self, reaching back in time to guide you. It understands the great paradox that the easy choice now often leads to a much harder life later. It is the voice that whispers, "You made a promise to yourself. Let us honor it." It says, "A small moment of discomfort now will purchase a large measure of freedom and peace later." It is the voice of your highest intention. The daily practice of discipline is nothing more than the conscious, repeated act of hearing both voices, acknowledging the seductive plea of the voice of comfort, and then calmly, deliberately, choosing to follow the guidance of the voice of commitment. This reveals the profound, paradoxical core message. True freedom is not the absence of restraint, it is born from the right kind of restraint. The undisciplined person is not free. They are, in fact, a slave. They are a slave to their every whim, their every mood, their every fleeting appetite. They are a slave to the voice of comfort. The person who lacks financial discipline is not free to travel, to invest, to be generous. They are a slave to their debts and their anxieties. The person who lacks the discipline to manage their health is not free to run, to climb, to live with vitality. They are a slave to the limitations of their own body. The person who lacks the discipline to manage their attention is not free to create, to focus, to be present. They are a slave to 1,000 digital distractions. Discipline is the bridge. Imagine on one side of a great chasm stands the person you are today. On the other side stands the person you know you have the potential to become the embodiment of your purpose, your mountainness. The chasm between these two is a deep void filled with excuses, procrastination, good intentions, and tomorrows that never come. Discipline is the strong, elegant bridge built from the steel of small, consistent actions. Without this bridge, you can stand at the edge of the chasm for your entire life, gazing longingly at the other side. Discipline is what grants you the freedom of movement, the freedom to grow, the freedom to cross over into the life that is waiting for you. So how do we begin to build this mighty bridge? We do not begin by trying to lift impossibly heavy beams. The biggest obstacle to discipline is that we make the first step too large, too intimidating. We bypass this resistance by embracing the power of the insignificant, the philosophy of gentle erosion. The practical application is the 2-minute rule. It is simple, yet its effect on the architecture of your habits is profound. The rule is this: if a task enters your awareness and you know it can be completed in less than 2 minutes, you must do it immediately. Do not schedule it, do not write it down, do not postpone it. Simply do it. This applies to rinsing your plate and putting it in the dishwasher instead of leaving it in the sink. It applies to answering that simple email you have been avoiding. It applies to putting your shoes back in the closet instead of leaving them by the door. It applies to taking out the trash the moment you notice it is full. This simple rule is a powerful form of magic. First, it instantly clears the mental space of all the small, nagging, unfinished tasks that drain our cognitive energy. Second, and far more importantly, it builds the identity of a person who takes action. Each completion is a small victory. Each act is a tiny drop of water falling on the stone of your resistance. It proves to you, again and again, that you are not a procrastinator. You are a person who follows through. You are building the great bridge to your future self, not with giant, terrifying leaps, but with thousands of small, easy-to-place, perfectly laid stones. This, then, is the true face of discipline. It is not the harsh, unforgiving taskmaster. It is the quiet, patient, and loving parent within, guiding you towards your own highest good. It is the gentle but relentless force that carves the path of your life with grace and intention. It is the silent architect that builds your freedom, one small, conscious, and honorable choice at a time. It is the bridge that connects who you are to who you are destined to become. We have walked a long and winding path on this journey inward. We have looked at the prison of our desires, the echo chamber of our minds, the illusions of the horizon. We have learned to let go of our desperate grip, to welcome detachment, to tend our inner fire, to release the ghosts of past and future, and to find our sovereignty in the present moment. We have even unmasked the hungry ego. As we follow the thread of this logic to its ultimate conclusion, we arrive at the edge of a great precipice. We arrive at the final gatekeeper of fear. For if you truly let go, you release your desires, your stories, your attachments, your roles, and even the very idea of a self that needs to be defended, and in Hansist a terrifying question arises from the depths. What is left? If I am not my story, not my ambition, not my pain, what am I? The mind looks at this possibility and sees only a vast, terrifying, empty space. It sees a void, and the primal, cellular fear of that void The fear of having nothing and becoming nothing is perhaps the deepest fear of all. To understand the power of this fear, we must dissect its anatomy. The ego, our constructed identity, is a creature of content. It defines itself entirely by what it contains. It is a vessel filled with memories, beliefs, desires, roles, and opinions. Its sense of existence is dependent on this content. The idea of emptying the vessel is, from the ego's perspective, utterly synonymous with annihilation. To let go of your ambition feels like death to the part of you that identifies as an ambitious person. To release your grievances feels like death to the part of you that has built an identity around being a victim. To quiet the mind feels like death to the part of you that believes, I think, therefore I am. The ego whispers its ultimate terror into your heart. Without all this content, you will be a vacuum. You will be an empty shell. You will be nothing. This innate fear is then amplified 1,000-fold by the culture we inhabit. Our society abhors a vacuum. We are conditioned from birth to fill every available space. We fill silence with chatter or music. We fill time with tasks and schedules. We fill our minds with endless streams of information and entertainment. Boredom is treated as a sin, a sign of a failed and uninteresting life. An empty schedule is seen not as an opportunity for peace, but as a symptom of unimportance. We have been taught, in a million subtle ways, that emptiness is a lack, a deficiency, a problem to be solved immediately through consumption or activity. This creates a profound inner conflict that rages at the very center of our being. It is the conflict between the ego's terror of annihilation and the soul's deep, intuitive yearning for peace. On one side, you have the frantic, desperate energy of the ego. It sees the approaching void of stillness, and it panics. It will do anything to avoid it. It will invent a new problem to worry about. It will generate a new, urgent desire to pursue. It will start a fight, create drama, or numb itself with distraction. Its entire strategy is to continuously fill the space, to keep the content churning, so it never has to face the silence where it suspects its own non-existence lies. On the other side is a quiet, deep, and patient yearning from your true nature. It is the part of you that is exhausted by the relentless job of being somebody. It is the part that craves a genuine Sabbath, a true rest, a release from the noise and the striving. It is the soul, which intuitively knows something the ego cannot comprehend, that the void is not to be feared, for it is our very source. This is the final battle, the ego screaming that emptiness is a tomb, while the soul whispers that it is, in fact, a womb. We must therefore fundamentally reframe our understanding of this emptiness. We must learn to see the void not as a dead vacuum, but as a place of infinite, fertile potential. It is not nothingness, it is the ground of all being. Consider the fertile darkness of the soil. A seed cannot germinate under the harsh, constant glare of a floodlight. It cannot sprout on a surface that is already crowded and paved over. It requires the dark, quiet, empty earth. It must be surrounded by a receptive void to crack open and begin its journey. That dark emptiness is not an absence of life. It is the precondition for all new life. Consider the silent pause between the notes of a symphony. A piece of music that was just a constant, unbroken stream of sound would not be music. It would be unbearable noise. It is the carefully placed moments of silence, the empty spaces, that give the notes their meaning, their rhythm, their emotional power. The silence is not the absence of music. It is an essential part of the music itself. Consider the blank canvas. As long as a canvas is filled with old faded scribbles, a new masterpiece cannot be painted. The artist must have the courage to face the vast, intimidating emptiness of the blank canvas, for it is only from this space of pure potential that a new vision can emerge. The emptiness is not the absence of a painting. It is the invitation for every possible painting. This is the nature of the void. It is not a tomb where things go to die. It is a sacred womb from which all things are born. The core message, then, is this. Emptiness is not the absence of everything. It is the presence of all possibility. It is the unmanifest field from which all manifestation arises. By having the courage to let go of the rigid, constructed identity of who you think you are, you create the space to discover who you truly are. By emptying your hands of all the things you have been desperately clutching, you make them available to receive something new, something unexpected, something far more true. This realization cannot remain an intellectual concept. It must be an experienced reality. And the only way to experience it is to have the courage to go there. The practical application is to schedule a date with the void. It is a simple, though not necessarily easy, practice. Set aside a block of time, perhaps 2 or 3 hours on a day, off where you will have absolutely nothing planned. The rules are strict. No phone, no computer or television, no books or podcasts, no chores or errands. You are not even to structure the time with a formal meditation practice. The goal is not to do nothing in a productive or spiritual way. The goal is simply to be. You can sit on a chair and look out the window. You can lie on the floor. You can stand in the middle of the room. You are to simply exist without a script and allow whatever arises to arise. And what will almost certainly arise, at first, is a tidal wave of discomfort. You will feel bored. You will feel restless. Your mind, the ego, will go into a panic. It will generate 1,000 seemingly urgent and important things you should be doing instead. It will scream for a distraction, for any kind of content to fill the terrifying space. Your practice is simply to stay. Do not act on the impulse to escape. Greet the boredom as a long-lost friend. Acknowledge the restlessness without judgment. Watch the ego have its tantrum as if you were watching a small child. You are learning to tolerate the initial turbulence of the void, knowing that on the other side of that discomfort lies a profound and nourishing peace. The fear of having nothing is the ego's final, most powerful illusion, its last line of defense. But if you have the courage to walk through that gate of fear, you will discover that it guards not an abyss, but a vast, open, and peaceful field. You will discover that the void is not empty at all. It is pregnant with peace. It is the quiet, sacred space where intuition can finally be heard over the shouting of the mind, where true creativity can be born, and where your authentic self, free from the clutter of who you were supposed to be, can finally, gently emerge. It is the ultimate discovery that in letting go of everything, you become available to it all. We have stood at the edge of the void and found not an abyss, but a fertile emptiness. We have learned to be present in the quiet, open space of the now, free from the ghosts of yesterday and the phantoms of tomorrow. But as we begin to act again from this new place of stillness, as we bring something forth from the void into the world of form, a new and subtle tyrant often emerges to stand guard at the gate of creation. It is the tyrant of perfection. It is the whisper that becomes a roar, insisting that whatever you do, whatever you are, whatever you create, must be flawless, seamless, and beyond any possibility of criticism. It is a standard so impossibly high that it freezes the creative impulse in its tracks and turns the joy of living into an anxious performance. To find true freedom in our actions, we must learn the beautiful, liberating art of imperfection. We must learn the wisdom of kintsugi, the Japanese art of mending broken pottery, not by hiding the cracks, but by illuminating them with gold. Let us first dissect the anatomy of perfectionism. It presents itself as a noble striving for excellence, a commitment to the highest standards. This is a clever and seductive disguise. In truth, Perfectionism has very little to do with a love of excellence and everything to do with a paralyzing fear of judgment. It is a shield, not a standard. It is a defense mechanism forged in the fires of shame. The perfectionist operates from a silent, deeply held belief. If I can just do it perfectly, if my work is flawless, if my life appears seamless, then I cannot be criticized, I cannot be rejected, I cannot be found unworthy. It is an attempt to create an impenetrable armor against the perceived threats of the world. But this armor is so heavy, so cumbersome, that it prevents any meaningful movement. It is the straitjacket of should. The perfectionist is paralyzed by the gap between the messy reality of their current state and the gleaming, sterile ideal in their mind. The blank page is too intimidating, for it must hold the perfect novel, and so the first sentence is never written. The canvas remains untouched, for it must bear a masterpiece. The difficult conversation is never had, for the perfect words can never be found. Perfectionism is not the path to your best work. It is the most elegant and insidious form of procrastination ever invented. It is the killer of creativity, the assassin of action, and the thief of all joy. This creates a constant and exhausting inner conflict, the battle between the idealized image in your mind and the raw, unpolished reality of your life. The perfectionist lives in the imaginary world of shoulds. My career should be on this trajectory. My body should look this way. My relationship should be free of conflict. This piece of art should be met with universal acclaim. This constant, painful comparison between a mental fantasy and the tangible, breathing world is a guaranteed recipe for perpetual dissatisfaction. Nothing is ever quite good enough. No achievement brings lasting peace, because the inner critic can always find a flaw, a place where it fell short of the impossible ideal. You are left in a state of constant disappointment, not disappointed by life itself, but by life's stubborn refusal to conform to your rigid mental blueprint. The conflict is between clinging to the idealized blueprint and having the courage to embrace the actual, messy, and beautiful building that is your life. The antidote to this tyranny is found in the gentle and profound wisdom of the East, specifically in the Japanese aesthetic of wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi is a worldview centered on the acceptance of transience and imperfection. It is the ability to find beauty in things that are humble, modest, and unconventional. It is the beauty of a moss-covered stone, a hand-thrown tea bowl that is slightly asymmetrical, a weathered wooden door. It does not seek flawlessness. It finds character in age, grace in simplicity, and beauty in authenticity. It honors the natural cycle of growth and decay. Flowing from this philosophy is the beautiful art of kintsugi. When a cherished piece of pottery breaks, the kintsugi master does not try to glue the pieces back together so that the cracks are invisible. They do not discard the object as ruined. Instead, they undertake a patient and loving repair. They use a special lacquer mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum to meticulously reassemble the broken pieces. The result is breathtaking. The lines of breakage, the history of the object's trauma, are not hidden, they are highlighted. The cracks are now filled with gold, becoming the most beautiful and compelling feature of the piece. The bowl is not beautiful in spite of its brokenness. It is beautiful because it was broken and lovingly repaired. The scars tell a story of resilience, of a life lived. This is a perfect metaphor for a life of wisdom and self-compassion. Our failures, our mistakes, our heartbreaks, our moments of shame, these are our cracks. The perfectionist part of us, the inner critic, tells us to be ashamed of these cracks, to hide them at all costs, to present a flawless facade to the world. The wisdom of kintsugi invites us to do the opposite. It invites us to gather our broken pieces with care. It asks us to mend ourselves with the liquid gold of self-compassion, to learn the lessons that the breaking taught us, and to integrate that experience into our being. Our scars are not evidence of our failure. but a testament to our survival. They are the marks of a life that has been truly lived, not one that has been kept safely on a shelf. Our imperfections, our quirks, our vulnerabilities, and our histories are not flaws to be eliminated. They are the golden seams that make us who we are, unique, resilient, and beautiful. The core message is to let go of the flawless, perfect song you think you should be singing, and to fall deeply in love with the raw, authentic, and occasionally off-key symphony of the life you are actually living. The beauty is not in the absence of a single mistake, but in the emotional richness of the entire composition, cracks, dissonances, and all. How do we begin to embody this in a practical way, especially when the fear of judgment is so strong? We must build our imperfection resilience. We do this by consciously, and in a low-stakes environment, practicing the art of the beautiful mistake. The practice is to intentionally do something imperfectly and then learn to sit with the discomfort. For example, the next time you write an internal email to a trusted colleague, allow a small, non-critical typo to remain and send it without correcting it. Feel the jolt of your inner perfectionist screaming, "Fix it, they'll think you're careless." Your practice is to simply breathe and let the feeling pass. When you are cooking dinner, if you slightly overcook the vegetables, serve them anyway. Do not apologize for them. Do not make excuses. Simply present them as they are. When you are drawing or journaling, allow a line to be crooked. Allow a word to be misspelled. Your practice is to see this flaw and greet it with a gentle inner smile, as if to say, "Ah, there is the mark of the human hand. There is the proof that this is real." By repeatedly and intentionally exposing yourself to tiny, harmless imperfections, you are retraining your nervous system. You are teaching it that a mistake is not a catastrophe. You are demonstrating to yourself that you can, in fact, survive judgment. You are lowering the impossibly high stakes that the perfectionist has set. Your life is not a precious artifact to be sealed away in a climate-controlled display case, free from any touch or blemish. It is a vessel meant for daily use. It is a bowl meant to be filled with the hot tea of experience. It will get stained. It will get chipped. It will, inevitably, break. The spiritual practice is not to avoid the breaking,